Dynamic pricing or demand pricing is the practice of varying the price for a product or a service to reflect changing market conditions. In particular, the charging of a higher price at a time of greater demand. Some box stores have switched to a digital price tag, allowing for inflated pricing of goods during times of high demand or busy shopping hours. This week, the Jackalopes will explore dynamic pricing.
This week's episode of Jackalopes Explore is brought to you by Cloud Peak Center Lanes and Games, located at 1520 Coffeen Avenue in Sheridan. Stop in today to check out their amazing new arcade and prize counter, offering games and prizes for all ages and skill levels. From their full-service lounge to bowling alley and arcade, there is something for everyone. Cloud Peak Center Lanes and Games. Stop in today.
I'm Floyd Whiting.
I'm Aaron. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, Lyndon.
And I'm Steve Sisson.
I'm Emmy Whiting, and get ready to be mad.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
We're your Jackalopes, and dynamic pricing or demand pricing is nothing new. It goes by many different names: surge pricing, demand pricing, time-based pricing, variable pricing. But as a pricing strategy, it encourages consumers to make purchases during periods of low demand, such as buying tickets well in advance of an event, buying meals outside of lunch or dinner times, and it disincentivizes them during periods of high demand, such as using less electricity during peak energy hours. In some sectors, economists actually have characterized dynamic pricing as having welfare improvements over uniform pricing and contributing to a more optimal allocation of limited resources. Its usage often stirs public controversy, though, and we're going to talk about as to why, because a lot of us tend to think of this as price gouging. That's all it really is. Now, plane tickets, Uber rides, theater performances, sporting events, almost everything in the tourism industry uses dynamic pricing. Basically, during winter, if you're not living in a ski town, you're not getting a lot of people coming through. So you lower your prices. Once the summer hits and people start taking to the road with their families, people tend to jack those prices up a little bit, sometimes pretty high. That way they can make their big boom money during the big boom time. But businesses want to price competitively, actually monitor their competitors' pricing. And I imagine you've probably seen this on more than one occasion, that a big store or even a little mom and pop shop, I've seen them do this too, will match the price of their competitor. If you were to come in with evidence that their competitor is charging X amount of dollars for a hammer, you're at the local hardware store, they want to be able to compete, they'll match that price. Now, this is a way to kind of spur spending that I do like. That way that the individual who is jacking the price up won't actually be able to take advantage of it, whether that be a high shopping time, a peak energy use, and things like that. But you always have to remember one thing. You live, if you're watching this in the United States, in a capitalist economy. You are the one that sets the value of every single item that is for sale. You control this. But, as I was telling Mr. Sisson this morning, we pay.
Mr. Sisson. I love that.
We pay for convenience.
You talk to your dad?
Yeah. And as a society, as an American society, it is amazing what we will endure for convenience. So that is what demand pricing is. It's not really anything new.
I mean, it's in every business class you take. Like
All
I
the
was telling
time.
you
Well,
yesterday.
it literally is the stock market. It is Amazon has been doing it forever. It's been all around us. I think the disheartening thing about it is now it's getting into everything.
Well, and
It's,
I
in,
think
it's into your groceries.
that
it's
is
an-
why we're talking about it today.
Right,
Because
and-
it has turned into something.
that it shouldn't be.
Yes.
And the funny thing is, so I was talking about this topic, and somebody's like, well, don't you do a conspiracy show? And I'm like, okay, so let's just break this down real quick. Conspire, verb, working together to commit a potentially harmful act, generally at someone else's detriment. Conspiracy, noun, refers to the act of conspiring. Are they conspiring to get more money? Maybe. I mean, is it truly a
I
conspiracy?
don't think that's a maybe.
It's a yes.
That's an absolute yes.
So, and you see it a lot with gas stations,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
Because they will, the price that they're buying gas at is generally pretty much the same. Now, what corporation gets it for a little bit lesser price based on volume is different than somebody else, whatever. But that's why you look at like, there's 3 gas stations on a corner, and one's, $2.98, the other is $3, the other's $3.02, and you're like, why would anybody go to the $3.02? Well, maybe they offer a loyalty program where you're actually paying less than the least amount, but you don't know. And the thing about this that really irritates me the most is these ESLs, so electronic shelf labels, use e-ink or LCD displays, and they're connected to the store's pricing system via Bluetooth. So they can do real-time price adjustments. They don't have to have their workers, going out there and going, okay, well, now it's 68 cents instead of 70 cents, whatever, which is kind of a waste of time. And so now they can be more efficient doing their shopping for you or whatever for your pickup.
And if anyone has ever worked at a retail store who's had to peel one of those price tags off of the shelf,
so sticky?
Just slowly.
you know that them telling you, oh, we're switching it all to digital would sound on the surface
Amazing.
like a breath of fresh air.
And then
Totally.
you don't have to breathe in the fumes of Gougon.
Yes.
So nice.
Gougon and
'Cause
Coke.
That stuff is nasty.
Um,
Gougon's nasty.
So real-time pricing adjustments, okay, that could be good. Competitive edge where they can say, okay, well, they're selling it for this. Let's lower our prices.
lower
and we
it
can
down.
do it right
Yep.
now. Improved efficiency.
Yeah, lower it.
Right.
Like that ever
exactly.
happened.
Yeah.
Optimized promotions. So they go, oh, hey, Floyd, we know that you're a frequent buyer. Scan this QR code on this ESL and you will actually get 10% off or whatever it is. They can do more frequent price changes. Maybe you save money. There's maybe even personalized pricing. Like I have a card for a gas station where no matter what, I get 10 cents off every gallon. Sometimes I get like 40 cents off and I don't even know it. But what if it goes the other way? What if I have to pay 40 cents more? And that's the crazy part about this because right now, I mean, anybody that watches this knows that we're in BFE, Wyoming, but a prime example of this is you walk into now one of our big box stores that has all kinds of stuff, wink. So you walk in and an example is there's salsa. That's $3. And you're like, ooh, I like that kind. $3. That's a pretty good deal. So you grab one and there's 7 of them. Well, 5 other people come in, grab the rest of them because they're like, that's a good price. The last person to grab it, if we have all checked out, now this is where it gets wonky. Mm-hmm. If we've all checked out the prior 6 people, we paid $3 for it. This poor son of a gun may have grabbed that seeing it at 3, but because it was the last one, we've all checked out. Now they're out wandering around the store and all of a sudden it's like, oh, $4.50, $5 because they don't know. They go to check out. Now they're paying $2 more for it. And they didn't even know that they were paying $2 more for it. So there's some systems that have what they call smart shelves. And each of the things has a little like barcode, almost like those electronic tags on them. So when you remove it from the shelf, it knows immediately. 98% of places do not have smart shelves because it's way more expensive. So you could be wandering around the store, and I have a prime example of this, but you could be wandering around that store, and if you're the last person to check out, you ain't getting it for $3 anymore.
Yep.
You didn't know it was $5. So we were in a town across a mountain a couple of months ago, and we were heading to see some folks, and one of them had been kind of sick, and they're like, hey, could you stop at this little non-chain kind of grocery store and pick up some cough medicine? I'm like, yeah, that's fine. And they're like, okay, we want this kind, this brand. Okay. I walk in, and immediately I see these damn tags.
I know.
And I'm like, holy crap, I've read about this in magazines.
I've seen it on TikTok.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh no.
I saw this on the TV.
When I had TikTok.
Yeah. But I had read some articles about whatever. But so we walk in, and there's bottles of cough medicine. Same brand, same fluid ounces. No difference. Not like this one's 10% alcohol, this is alcohol-free. Same dang thing. The only difference was cherry, of which there were few, was around $12. Grape, which there were more of than the cherry, was $9.75. And then elderberry was like $6, because there's a glut of this crap. Because who goes in there going, I want the elderberry? So guess which one they were going to get, right? So I
Enjoy your elderberry.
right. Elderberry-ish. So I grab it, and because I'm like, okay, it's half the price of cherry. So that's what you're getting. But again, because they don't have a smart shelf system, if I would have grabbed that and we're in the store for another 20 minutes and the Elderberry Love Society of America comes in and they all have like a wicked cold and they grab all the elderberry stuff and they go check out first, I could get up to the counter and boop, $15. What the hell? If I was just getting that one thing, I would realize that, right? Like I'd be like, well, it's not what it said. It said it was $6. If I'm doing my big weekly grocery shopping and I'm just like, man, I hate being in this place with all the stuff, and I just want to get out of there, and I'm like, boop, 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 boop. Yeah. And all of a sudden,
who's
it's like,
watching
okay,
that close?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Unless
who's watching
you
it that close?
are scanning it yourself at the self-checkout.
But
too.
even then,
And even paying attention.
I mean,
Yeah.
you're flying through this stuff.
Absolutely, because you're trying to get out of there.
Am I going to notice that? Me personally, no.
Because on like a $150 bill of $3, you're probably not even going to know.
No.
You're not going to notice. Or on $500, are you going to notice an extra $50? I don't know. I don't shop like that. I shop like I'm going in, I'm grabbing what I need. I don't care what it costs. I don't want to be in here, and I'm going to get out before I have to talk to 50 people.
I get it.
But if we look at the big box stores who are doing this and are actually putting this practice into motion, you think about how many people are checking out just right now.
Right now.
Right at this very moment, nationwide, how many people are standing in that stuff facility running their products over a scanner without paying attention? By the end of the year,
by the end of the day,
how many millions of dollars have I made because you didn't pay attention? How many millions of dollars do I get to look at my shareholders and say, look at this fine practice?
And even if you do pay attention, I have a list of stuff we'll go over.
Well,
but even if you do pay attention, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
So, one, I think you could do something about it. Like, I mean, if it were that example where it's like $6 or 15, I'd probably be like, hey, get your ass over here because something ain't right. It said 6. Well, sir, you were the last one. No, when I took it off the goddamn shelf, it said 6.
I'd be taking
give
pictures.
it to me.
Yeah.
Well, and it almost becomes that. But
yeah.
the bigger issue is I go in, I get the stuff, I leave. I don't care. I need that for whatever I'm doing. I've seen people walking through with calculators because they're on a fixed income.
Yes.
They have $150 to spend. Great. They get the stuff. They're at 148. Let's say, and they're like, okay, it's time to check out. I'm going to have to go without a couple of things. They go to check out, and now it's $156, and they're like, what happened? And trust me, I am a pure capitalist. I love the fact that you can make money, and you can make as much money as you want to make, but not at that person's expense.
Yeah.
The vulnerable sector of the community is the one who's going to be paying.
Right.
Absolutely. And suffering.
Well, and the demand pricing, I know for a fact, I walk into the place with the stuff at 5:10 in the afternoon, I'm probably paying more.
Absolutely.
Because everybody and their brother is stopping to grab something on the way home. If I go in at 10 minutes before closing, I might have better luck at getting better pricing, but not everybody can do that. So I get it. Like, I've taken Ubers before that are less than 7 miles that are $80. And then I've taken that same ride at a really not busy time and it was $12. I get it. I'm paying for the convenience. I'm paying for that demand.
Electric companies charging high, rates for their power at this given time. It's because everybody's draining power at 5 p.m., 6 p.m. when we're all home. We're
cranking on the heater, the air conditioning,
and we're using the computer and the devices.
I really don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is if I pick it off that shelf, it better be that goddamn price. They do it. They still do it on all the produce. The produce doesn't have ESLs. It's still, your avocado's, 98 cents. Okay, well, if I get that up to the checkout and it rings up at $1.25, I'm going to be like, what the hell? I understand it, but it should be either you have the smart shelf system, so it knows, okay, you took that off the shelf at $5.15, this is the price you're paying. Or you just have it set for the day. That's it.
That's the thing. I think it should be set for a 24-hour period at least. It should not change prices as soon as you go to check.
Right. Midnight to midnight. That's the price. But that is not even close. I literally stood in the place with the stuff and watched people coming through. And this happened to be like in the pasta and sauce aisle, whatever. And I noticed that there was one that was going more than others. And so I'm kind of watching it. And sure enough, after about 30 seconds of the last person, and it wasn't that they took it off the shelf, it was just somebody else was checking out with this thing. I literally watched the price go up. And now it was only maybe like 5-8 cents.
That's a lot to some people, though.
But that's
all these
and it's happening for every item that you're getting.
Yeah.
And if you're buying 100 items,
Can you imagine?
Take that over, extrapolate that over every person that comes through that store on a nationwide basis, you're making some fat dough.
Can you imagine filling your tank with gasoline and you're watching everything click up horribly in some cases, and then all of a sudden you watch it really click up because, we've hit this certain gallon mark in our holding tanks, and when that hits, the demand is high, so it's time to knock that price. Could you imagine that happening? Could you imagine that being a practice in the United States?
Well, that's the thing, and it will be. Because we do live in a capitalist society, and also it's predatory.
I think it is. Again, you're preying on the individuals, like Aaron was talking about, with fixed income. They're the ones who are going to be losing here. But, again, the thing about capitalism is the people control the pricing.
But we have to do something about it.
We just don't do anything about it. That's right. Back in the 60s, when we had big civil rights movements, it was amazing to watch people boycott something. It was amazing, and I wasn't there, of course, but I've watched films. It was amazing to watch a community come together and have these peaceful protests where they're just saying, we're not going to put up with it anymore. And either sit in or we're not going to go to that business. Here in the state of Wyoming, there's even one of our legislators has made some controversial moves and people are threatening to boycott his business.
Yes.
These are things that happen in a peaceful way. I don't have to spend my money with you because this is a capitalist society. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I get to choose where I shop, and you're always going to have a competitor. I will go find your competitor.
Right. But part of the bitch of it is generally the big box stores are that much cheaper anyway than your mom and pop ones. So even if they're raising the prices, they might be hitting that same level. So you're like, because you hear it all the time around here. They're like, well, I get this here, I get this here, I get this here because there's the better pricing.
That's me.
That's what she does. Yeah.
And
I
I think she
go to
shops
one
at 3 or
place.
4 different places.
Yes,
And
every
I think
time.
we've all done that. But most people are like, I have a half hour to get this done.
Yeah.
I don't care. Then you're paying more for it? Okay.
Yeah,
If you
I mean,
don't care, it's okay.
It's like you get a gallon of milk at the convenience store, you're going to pay more.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But I will say, at the same time, when you are a big box store running small businesses out of town and you have nowhere else to shop,
Right.
and you do care, that's out of your control.
Right.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
Or you're paying a lot to make that statement.
Yeah.
You personally.
You're going to have to drive over to another town just to go
Yeah.
ahead and do your
Yeah, it's
grocery
going to
shop.
cost you a lot more to make that
Absolutely.
Yeah.
American citizens have really started to think that convenience is a right. That convenience should be the norm.
It's the world of DoorDash for crying
Here-
out loud.
Yes. No, and you're right.
Yep.
The thing of it is, in European countries, let's take Italy. Now I haven't been to Italy, but what I did do is I read a book written by a journalist who decided to go ahead and move over there, and he was describing all the different cultural differences. There's no refrigerator.
Right.
You go to the market every day and you buy everything fresh from people who are catching the fish, growing the tomato, making the cheese. Now, in an inner city, you can't do that. I get that. The United States is not Europe, and comparing the two is vastly different. It is night and day. There are absolute food deserts in this country where there's no way you're getting anything fresh, even if it does show up on a truck.
Right.
So I want people to understand, I get that. They don't have the privilege that we do here in the state of Wyoming, where I can go to the farmer's market when everything's in season. But then I have to shift my life. I have to buy things that are in season.
Right.
Believe it or not, blueberries don't grow in the dead of winter.
Without blueberries, we would not be okay.
But I pay for the convenience of them shipping this to me.
Right.
It's just we have gotten so used to this convenience that I shouldn't have to pay that much for blueberries. I shouldn't have to do this. Other parts of the world, that is so alien to them. That is just absolutely unheard of. Hell, parts of the United States, they're like, you see blueberries in February? That's
Right.
insane.
Right.
We pay for that. But we cannot forget it's not a right.
Well, and if I can't get them here, I can sure as hell go on Amazon and pick them up.
Oh, little plastic blueberries?
Yeah. Remember those rubber ones?
The
Yes.
rubber food episode. Go to the rubber food episode.
But you're paying for convenience.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people are willing to do. Like, I mean, I've had this discussion sometimes with Grant, sometimes with other people. I'm not paying DoorDash. I can get my ass in the car
I'm
and I
not
can
doing-
drive.
yeah.
I'm not doing that
around
either.
here.
I'm cheap.
What everything's 5-10 minutes away. Like
Yeah.
I can go do that and whatever.
In a big city, I kind of get
I
it.
totally
I
get it in a big city.
Yeah.
But the reason I wanted to kind of talk about this one in particular is it a conspiracy? I kind of think so. But you talk to people and they're like, it's cool. They got digitized
They
tags.
don't
And you're like,
get
yo, you
it.
don't understand what is at play
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
You go to get your cauliflower crust pizza because that's what you like, and there's 2, you're paying probably a couple of bucks more than the 20 people ahead of you. And most people, I don't care.
In the same day.
In the same day, maybe in the same hour.
So I wonder, Kohl's has had LCD price tags for decades.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they have the same technology where they can remotely change the price.
So I was talking with Grant about this, and
I
he's
worked
like,
for
well,
Kohl's, so I have some insight.
Okay.
he's like, well, the liquor store has those. I said, right, the liquor store has those though because state controls liquor pricing, and then they can,
in
pad.
Wyoming. Yeah. In Wyoming, it's controlled by the
but
state.
So they did it just because in their case, it's way more convenient to be able to type it into the computer, hit enter, and it changes the pricing for whatever that fluctuation is for that day. When I go to buy a bottle of Grey Goose, if it's the last one, I'm still paying what the guy paid
20 Grey Gooses before.
Why was he buying it at 9 a.m?
Yeah.
Get some help. But so in that instance, great. Love the ESLs. Fine. I have no problem with it. But if all of a sudden, there's 5 people in front of me and they're pulling it off the shelf at, $28 or whatever, and then I get up there and it's the last one, it's like, it's $42.50.
And that's, again, the same thing. It shouldn't be able to change within the same day.
Exactly.
That is just...
At the very minimum, there should be the agreement, or at least the understanding, that the price that it says on the shelf when I pick that item up is the price I'm going to pay for.
But that's the problem is it doesn't know, and you don't know, because I could walk around that store for another 20 minutes,
50
and I might have
people
had
could
one
come
of the
through.
first bottles,
Yeah.
but now they're all gone. I get up at the checkout, they're like, boop, $58. I'm like, that's not what it said. They're like, well, it's the last one. Sorry.
Yeah, that's the price now.
Yeah.
And what am I going to do? Not buy it and get the shakes? No.
Well, and we have to wonder if it'll shift into other things. Obviously, look, like we said, dynamic pricing has been around since commerce.
Yeah.
If I show up with a bunch of figs to the market and all of a sudden there's a rush on my figs and now I only got, say, 4 boxes left, I'm going to jack that price up because holy cow, I'm going to, go buy some more figs using that, and I'm going to be able to profit off of this.
Yeah, and you've got
That
your little price
is
tag there.
commerce.
You take that off, you put the other one on.
This
takes you 5
is
seconds.
the way it works. It is supply and demand.
Mm-hmm.
It
Which,
is basic
again,
economics.
No problem with supply and demand pricing. No problem. But when it's, there's 8 of them and there's 8 of us standing there and I'm the last guy in line and I get screwed for it, it's like, well, screw them too.
Yeah,
But that is supply and
Yeah, I was going to
I
say,
know,
where's
but-
the limit of that? Because if I pick up a loaf of bread, that is demand, regardless of anybody else doing it. I am creating demand by buying that one loaf of bread. So does that count as well?
I'm sorry. I had the comparison of Indiana Jones when you're
Yeah.
lining everything up. You're like, okay.
And switch.
And switch and then get crushed by a big giant boulder.
Yes. So sorry. That's what I was laughing at a little bit ago. I was like, that's
Trying to sneak it
hilarious.
off the shelf.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Like this
Well-
store brand is the same weight
Exactly.
as
Look at
the high quality. Yeah, we'll quickly swap them out.
Well, and
Oh,
you guys
gosh.
remember there was a great commercial once where this guy walks into a store and he's wearing a trench coat. And he's walking around this store and he's looking like he's stealing stuff because he's just grabbing things and putting them in his pocket, right? And everyone's kind of looking at him all shifty. They're trying to show, basically imply that this guy is shoplifting. But then as he walks out of the store,
Oh, yeah, it adds it
he's
all up.
scanned.
Yep.
It adds everything up and he's charged.
Yeah.
It was an Amazon pricing thing at the Amazon stores.
Oh, back in the
you
day.
could just walk
you
out.
could just
yeah.
walk out and you're scanned and everything on you has gone through that scanner and they've charged you and it's going to go into your credit or whatever. We live in a digitized system and there's certain advantages, obviously, but certain disadvantages that are going to come with this too. And you're going to have the bad actors who are going to act on that.
And that's the problem though. So what if you've got, and in the age and day of class action lawsuits, it might not happen as much, but what if you have that store that's like, well, let's say that we're 90% sold on that thing, even though we're not.
Even though I've got 50 of them in the back.
In the back.
and there are
Yeah.
plenty of people that would do that, and plenty of corporations, giant corporations who do not care about you as a person.
Well, and it made me start thinking too. So what does that supply and demand mean? So there's 6 on the shelf, but we have a pallet of it in the back. Is it just what's on the shelf, or is
Well,
it what's
if
in the store? Because now I got to get somebody back out there to resupply those
Yeah.
6 things. So should I get that money now because I don't know when I can get my guy out there, girl,
Or if
whatever.
you're looking at a computer system, has what's on the pallet been inventoried yet?
right.
We don't know.
But that's the thing is, it's not only dynamic pricing, it's dynamic accounting of what has been priced. I guess.
Dynamic swindling.
Yeah.
It's just all dynamic.
And what if you do have 24 of them in the back, and you're going to put 6 on the shelf anyway?
And just make that
You're like,
that
okay.
false demand
Yes.
kick
Yeah.
off.
There's
Yeah.
too many loopholes in it for me. And I mean, if I'm going in and I'm buying 5 things and it's the difference of $1 and I'm paying $5 more, whatever, I guess. I mean, again, convenience. I'm going in, I'm getting the stuff, I'm leaving. I don't care. But you go in to do that big weekly buy, and now it's $50 difference. Well, that's going to impact a lot of folks. And I get it. You pay more at those higher demand times or whatever.
I don't get it.
But well,
and
it's
I don't like it.
Every flight that's leaving going to Vegas because there's a big convention, you wait longer, it's going to cost more because you got to get there and you want that seat. I get it.
But should food be that way?
That's the issue. It's almost like the man from 34, whatever, where he got picked up because he just took water and bananas, because in that time frame, it was free because it was...
That was a horrible thing.
That was so good.
It was so bad.
So good.
It actually physically hurt to watch.
It hurt. Exactly.
But our review of it was great. So
none of us here are an economist. We'll make that point. But I don't need an economist to sit here and rattle off various terminologies and tell me the ethics of it, because the four of us sitting here are common people. And I think that's what made Jackalopes Explore so special. We're not specialists. On a lot of the different subjects that we discuss, we're you. And I think that's an advantage. We can sit down and look at an expert and he can tell me a bunch of terminology and try to convince me that all of this is ethical and it needs to be put into practice. But when it comes to the average human being, when it comes to the individual who looks across the street and sees their vulnerable senior neighbor who's living on a fixed income and watching their quality of life fall through the goddamn floor because somebody wants to make an extra dollar here, there, or over there, don't butter it up and tell me that that's ethical. The United States has, in a way, in various ways, decided to sell certain ethics for that convenience. We've decided to sell certain parts of the American value to make things a little easier, a little safer, or at least give me the illusion of that, because that's what it is. It's all an illusion. That's not a conspiracy. We've created the illusion of safety and security around ourselves. And every once in a while, we got to crack the whip on ourselves and remind us that we live in a real goddamn world. And that if we lose the values that made us who we are, we won't be who we are. And I see it slipping all the time, because you have these figureheads who are getting up there with the goddamn stock ticker going across the bottom of the screen all the time, telling you that your life has got to be governed by these numbers, that everything around you has got to be governed by the state of what you own and how much you have. I mean, Jesus, think about the amount of stuff in your home right now, and then think about what you actually need to survive. When it comes to supply and demand, when it comes to survivability, go out into a storm, and don't do this because you'll get yourself killed.
Yeah, don't do that.
Just hypothetically speaking.
Now, I want you to think about the person going through the forest during a snowstorm. They're freezing to death. They're starving. They're hungry. Bring them into a warm room and give them one bowl of soup, and tell me that they don't appreciate that more than all the electronic crap that you have in your home.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We have given ourselves a level of comfort and a level of convenience where we have forgotten what we actually need.
And I would like to bring up that we have the privilege to do that.
We have the privilege to do that because of brave men and women in the past who've made fantastic choices. We just have to remember that. And we have to remember that, we need to put value first sometimes over safety. Mm-hmm. We have to put ideals over security sometimes, whether we like it or not. That's what a cop does. That's what a soldier does.
Mm-hmm.
That's what these servicemen and women do. That's what a firefighter does. I'm putting the value of someone's life over the security of my own. Mm-hmm. That's what makes us great. And if we lose that, we lose who we are. And so we have to keep all of that in mind. And that's why I kind of got on this little bit of a soapbox where we're not economists. And I know we're going to get comments of people like, well, you guys don't know what you're talking about. In a way,
you are correct.
You're correct.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But we know how it feels.
Yes.
Exactly.
But average people. We're not here to try and fix it. We're here to ask you, is this right?
Well, and bring it to people's attention.
Yes.
Because again, so many people do not realize what that is.
Mhm.
They just go, "Oh, cool. They got an upgrade."
I have a few things that I feel like would be helpful for people to know that I found on the interwebs. So I went on to itlawco.com,
Okay.
and there were some things about the ESL. So that, again, is electronic shelf labels, and, kind of things you would want to know about them. But I will tell you, looking this up, it's nothing about what is this going to do to you as a consumer.
Mhm.
How can you do something about it? There's nothing like that out there, which is infuriating. It's all about, oh, this is going to be so beneficial for your business. Shut up. I do not care about your business. I care about me, my wallet, my family, and my security. How am I going to get food?
Mhm.
That's what I want to know. But anyway, so I look at this stuff. I picked and choose what is applicable to the everyday person. Who cares? Like, do I care about their value as a company? No. So I don't have that on here.
Right.
I care about the things that are going to affect people. So one of the things is accuracy of displayed prices. Retailers using ESLs must ensure that the prices displayed are accurate and synchronized with their checkout systems. A mismatch between the shelf price and the change price can lead to legal consequences for the company, including fines and reputable damage. Take that picture. When you are shopping, take a picture of it.
Is there still a Better Business Bureau?
Oh yeah.
Or has that been
Yeah.
destroyed?
No, that's still there.
That's still
Good question.
still a thing?
Whether it functions as intended, who knows?
Yeah,
but it
well,
does exist.
Okay.
And then the other one is false advertising risks
Mhm.
to the company. Because again, this whole article is about what this can do to your company.
Yeah.
But this is good information for us to know. Dynamic pricing enabled by ESLs must be carefully managed to avoid misleading consumers. For example, if prices change frequently, retailers must communicate that clearly, that the prices may fluctuate during the shopping experience. So if it's not communicating that, that's a problem.
Yep.
If the stuff facility does not include that somewhere in the store, I think that's a big problem.
Clearly posted for every and all to see.
And it says failure to do so could be seen as deceptive advertising, which is prohibited under many consumer protection laws.
So far,
Yeah.
For the time.
for the time being.
Because things are changing very fast here, and it's scary. And that's, again, why we're talking about this, because this is what affects us as everyday people. So compliance with data privacy regulations is another one, which is something I didn't even think about. Collecting and processing personal data to offer personalized pricing
Yeah.
must comply with data protection laws and other similar
Oh my
regulations.
God. I didn't think about that either.
I
Now
did
you
not,
know
yeah.
every single thing that I've bought
That you're buying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you're keeping track of it.
Because think about when you do shop somewhere online, like,
Mhm.
you know, the,
Oh,
the
other
big A.
suggestions
Yes.
for you.
You tend to
big
buy a
A.
lot of lotion.
Yeah.
Here's some other things you might like.
Tissues. Sorry.
How much lube does one person need?
In
A lot.
Diddy's cart, we have other suggestions for you.
Okay, so going on that, retailers must ensure that any personal data collected is obtained with a valid, lawful basis and used transparently. So, first off, they have to tell you that they're going to be using this stuff. Read that terms and service.
No,
I'm
nobody,
so bad
I
at
just
that.
talked
Read
about
the
that
terms
with
and
somebody,
agreement.
like,
Yeah.
But
nobody
it's,
reads that.
It's going to become more of a not optional thing to do. And so read that. Also, read up on those laws that protect you. Because if you know, at least you'll be knowledgeable about it.
Isn't it the
You
old,
think about like certain incidences, where the gathering and the sharing of your information has become such a moneymaker in this country. But there's ethical issues that come with all of that. Now, I was in the service. I was in the National Guard, so I've given a lot of blood. So whoever wants it has got my DNA. I don't.
I have some at home.
It's just, you know what I mean?
File.
It's in the freezer.
It's the idea that for me, it's like I wrote that off a long time ago, right? I put my name on the line and opted in. But at the same time, I know that the military, or at least I hope, the military isn't selling that to a private corporation. They're not selling it, I can guarantee, to an insurance company who will use my DNA to figure out if I'm susceptible to various diseases that they will not cover me for should I apply for health insurance from them. These are ethical issues.
I won't do those DNA tests. And he says, it doesn't matter. They have your DNA anyway. And I was like, yes, but I didn't willingly give it to them.
Yeah.
And that's a point.
Someday that may become important.
Yes. So I'm like, I'm not giving them my DNA.
Willingly. And that's she can bring that up in court if she ever wanted to.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, I was like, there you go. Have it all.
You sure that's all you want?
Is that orange juice? Oh, wow, a cookie.
He gave little blood vials to every one of his dates. He'd be like, here you go.
Here you go.
Just handing it out
A little
willy-nilly.
piece of me to go with you.
So going back to this little list that I have here, another thing is transparency and data usage. Consumers have the right to know how their data is being used. Retailers must clearly inform customers if their personal data will be used to adjust prices or offers. So if you do buy a lot of lotion and tissues, which I know that's funny, but I do. Because it's dry here and my nose is always running.
Oh, yeah.
I will.
Same here. I'm always
it's
dry.
kind of funny that you guys do bring that up because I didn't even think about it. But yes, my wife goes through a lot of lotion and tissues.
Yes.
And so they'd be like,
But they're going to jack up that price on me because I buy a lot of it. That's
Or they're going to offer you
That's
deals.
my personal demand.
Well, see, or they could be disguising it as, well, I keep all this information so I can offer you these great bargains.
So this thing that's usually $10 is
gouge it
$20
when you need it.
and it's 50% off.
Mm-hmm. Increasing things ever so slightly. I'm an idiot and sitting here and I just came up with this idea. I know when you make your purchase. I know you have a routine that you follow. So now you're coming in, you're going to buy your lotion and tissues on this day exactly. Fantastic. Here she comes. Jack it up 2 cents today. Jack it up 4 cents the next time. Jack it up 6 cents the next time. She's not going to notice this. And then slowly, next thing you know, you're paying $3, $4 more for something. And you're standing around going, Jesus, wasn't this cheaper at one time? Hell, I've done that. Where I'm looking at something going, I could have swore this was a hell of a lot cheaper.
So I will tell you, if you've ever been to a different big box store that is not blue, but another color. If you look under the low price sticker, you could sometimes see that same price.
Right, yeah.
Because I did that a lot. I was like, is this actually a deal? Okay. And I cannot tell you how many times it was the same price.
But you create
But
the
they're
illusion.
disguising it as a deal, as a coupon, as something. And it, don't even get me started.
It's always like, well, today is the last day of the. You got to create that like sense of urgency.
Yes.
Well, and to be fair, if I'm a merchant, I need to do this. I want to create this. I want to get you in my store. I want to get you to buy this stuff. I got to create this idea of demand. I got to create this illusion that I'm saving you money. It's all big benefit. And shareholders, they pay CEO millions of dollars for these fantastic ideas because you make my
fantastic
share.
Lies. Fantastic lies, not ideas.
Welcome
lies.
to capitalism.
But again, we're the ones that control that. So you walk in and you go, I've been wanting that pair of jeans. And they go, hey, big sale. And you're like, oh, big sale? Isn't that the normal price? Well, it's a big sale. I'm buying them.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I can say I got them on sale.
Yep.
And I just don't trust corporations enough to be like, we are creating that. I actually don't believe that. I believe they're going to make you feel like you're creating it because that's the society we live in. But they're making the prices. They are making this demand. They're not relying on us anymore. They're going to take whatever we're buying and just jack up no matter what it is.
And they don't really, care. I mean, look, when they're sitting around in their big stockholder meetings and talking to the executives and the CEOs, do you think anyone takes the moment to go, is this ethical?
No.
You know that meme where the guy's getting thrown out the window?
How is this going to affect John Q. Public? I get him out of
The
here.
only thing looking at
I
is
don't
like,
wanna hear it.
is there potential legal action here? That's all they care.
That's all they
Yeah.
can they sue me for it?
But the thing that always blows my mind too is, because I'll openly admit it, that years ago, I would go get my clothes at a certain place, and I would gladly walk in and be like, oh, I really like that one, $110, you know, these pants, 130, this, and finally, my wife, the better Erin, is like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, we gotta go over here because I gotta get it. She's like, let me take you to this store. And I'm like, ew.
yeah. Not that one.
But do I have to touch anything? You know, like, I was like, it had a stigma for me.
Yeah.
We walk in there, and she walks over, and she pulls out the exact same shirt,
For $30.
$49.
Yeah.
I'm
So-
like, that's less than
I
half.
had to do the same thing with a certain someone.
Is that someone in this room?
That's someone.
Was it me?
No.
It's the someone in the room with you
Unless
now.
I'm married to you, which I'm not. I'm married to this one. So he's like, no, we need the name brand of all this stuff. He would buy name brand everything in the house. I'm like, oh, no way.
Yeah, she wasn't having it.
I was like, there are some things that I will not buy, just, you know, the off-brand stuff, because I do think it tastes better. But for the most part, everything is the same. Everything is the same, and
So-
that's
I
what I
miss
buy
my Fruity
now.
Pebbles, man.
I'll
I
you
get
some
you
for Christmas.
Dino Pebbles.
So some of that stuff though too, though, like those, like you can get the Fruity Pebbles, or you can get the Dino Pebbles in the 80-pound
In the
bag,
huge bag.
and they're full of listeria.
Yes. It's good for you. It builds character.
Puts hair on your chest.
But it's funny because a lot of times you look at, especially the big box stores, brand name, right? And then for like 20 cents less, it's like their brand.
Yeah.
And you really look at them. And I had a buddy that worked for a big box store, and he goes, it's the same thing.
Literally
I go-
boxed in the same factory
I go,
sometimes.
what are you talking about? He's
Yep.
like, no, literally, they use their leverage, and they say, if you want shelf space for Floyd's brand, Floyd, you're going to make our brand, and we're going to knock it down 20 cents. But you're still making money either way.
Yeah.
Because even if they're
Yeah.
buying our brand, you're making some dough off of that. And I'm
It's
like,
going to look like the knockoff. And who, you know, I was one of those guys. I was walking through there and I was like, you know, this is better. Just buy the name brand of this. Now, I didn't grow up with name brands,
And I think that's why.
which is why
Yeah.
I started buying name brands when I started to control my own destiny.
right.
So it was something
Now
that
she's
I did
controlling
for
I was
me.
going to say, then you got married and you no longer control your own destiny.
Now my wife
We all
controls
roll
exactly.
the chain,
Look,
you know what I'm saying?
we all accept certain things for convenience, right? So
It comes full circle.
full circle. But it's you know, she's right when it comes to certain things, and you're right too. One thing that
I wasn't right. The better Aaron was right.
Well, the better Aaron
Yeah.
was right. You know, where it's like men tend to, and I know I'm going to get flack for this, but men tend not to be the gatherers. Okay, we're the hunters.
Right.
When we walk into a store,
That's why I go grocery shopping.
I know what I want. Okay, I'm looking for the deer. I don't give a damn about the rest of the animals. I want the deer. So I go for the deer. I grab the deer. I take care of the deer. My hunting trip is done. Fantastic.
Where's the deer in the fridge? It's right in front of you. It's right in front
When
of
we're hunting, we can find it.
To be fair, it was
Yeah.
behind the milk.
But-
you. You just didn't move the milk.
But you know, and Dr. Deborah Tannen, someone who I've talked about a lot, she's got this book called this theory called Genderlicks, where she's often wondered why do men and women communicate so differently, and yet when it's actually studied, it's like a 0.1% difference, and that's because
That's all it takes.
That's all it takes. But where did that come from? A lot of it, she theorizes, comes from the hunter-gatherer time period, where us men, we went out for the deer, we were dead silent. If you talked, you scared off the prey. So we can be together and be silent, and that's okay. Women needed to, or females needed to keep predators away. So you gathered in large groups with the
Made
family.
noise.
You gathered other stuff, Kate, and I'm not putting a generalization on this. I realize that there's evidence now that
there's
a lot of women.
It's called
ebb and flow
historic
in that.
evidence,
but as they sat around, they spoke. They were loud. They communicated to each other because it kept predators.
Oh my God, that's where it came from.
It kept predators away. So they developed speaking as a better way to communicate, whereas men, it was all looks. It's all facial expression. Not all, but a lot of it's facial expressions. We can work together in complete silence all day long and be like, that's my best friend.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's my
you
best
pass
buddy.
somebody in the street, you give them the guy nod.
The guy nod.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
What's his last name? I have
I
no
have
idea.
no idea.
That is so
What's his
personal.
first
Why
name?
would I
Dunno.
ever ask
Yeah.
that?
I call him bro.
But you see what I'm saying? Like, so women, females, and tend to be.
You could say women. It's fine. I'd rather be called a woman than a female, personally.
tend to be the better shopper because they're gathering.
Yeah.
They're looking at the ripeness of the berries.
Right.
Not this one. They're gathering. You and I, we're hunters. We're going in. We're getting what we need. We want to get the hell out.
I'll tell you what, it was a sad state of affairs when I was sent in for produce.
Oh,
I will tell you. We could talk about this
We need
all day.
avocados and this and that. Get them.
I write
and
a
then all of a
list.
sudden, it was like we'd go in together, and it's just like, well, we need this, and this. I'm like, okay, I'll go get it. And she's
No.
like, no.
I write a list. It says tomato sauce on it.
Yeah.
Tomato sauce. It says that on the can of tomato sauce. It's not pasta sauce. It is tomato sauce. I love you
very
so
specific,
much.
man. Yeah.
Very
Because it
specific.
actually
gotta
did
be-
happen.
You got to look at those labels.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. It looked like it had tomatoes on
The
it.
attention to detail is
That's-
sometimes off. And I think of this. So you talk about the hunter-gatherer thing. I think about when I was a teenager and I was in therapy having all these boy problems because I was a teenager. And my therapist described to me how different brains work. And a lot of men, and again, this is a generalization, but it obviously
Don't
there
attack
is-
us. Yeah.
There is so
Stereotypes
many
and
different
stereotypes for a reason.
Yeah.
It's just a thing.
And again, we're talking in like a binary thing too, men, women thing. And she drew a man's brain and it was all boxes. And they're all compartmentalized. And she drew a woman's brain and it's all everywhere because we're multitasking.
Just squiggles.
Thinking about
Yeah.
everything all at once. And so it's like, it makes so much sense.
Yeah, well,
I was like, that makes so much sense.
We're the
That's how
lunch
I think
tray.
about it.
we have a lunch tray. Everything's in its category. Everything's under control, and we're happy.
And we're the KFC famous bowl.
The fans just dump it all in there. Get it in there, mix it up. We'll figure it out later.
That's my favorite thing to get, by the
So
way.
honestly, like we've kind of gone off into a tangent here, but it's still dealing with consumerism.
So sorry. Getting back to my list, I would like to finish this. I only have a few more things.
Fire away.
Absolutely.
Another point that they had, and again, this is itlawco.com, is price discrimination. In many jurisdictions, pricing strategies that result in unfair discrimination against certain consumer groups could be subject to legal challenges.
God,
For
that's something I
instance-
didn't think about at all.
Yes, because, I mean, think about a higher age point in certain
Yep.
communities. People of color higher in certain communities and selling certain items for more
Mhm.
that these people need. And it's just gross.
It is absolutely.
It's just gross.
Yeah.
But anyway, so for instance, dynamic pricing algorithms must not unfairly target vulnerable people or adjust prices based on protected characteristics such as race, gender, or age. Don't be putting up those tampon prices. Come on. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry
Hey.
that we all synced at the same time.
Yeah.
It's not my
Yeah,
fault.
just don't grab the last box. That's all I'm saying.
Man, I'm a father.
We're already dealing with the pink tax. We don't need that.
I've had to go in. and that's one thing I've always been willing to do. I'll jump on that grenade for any of the women in my life, and I'll go in there. And luckily, I'm not asked to do it very often, nor was I. But as a dad, you
Oh, yeah.
do it, right?
Also,
And, yeah, I was
is
surprised.
A box of tampons.
Why?
I never had a problem with that because they knew it wasn't for me.
Yes.
So
But the funny thing is, like, because I've done that, right?
Yeah.
But I go in and I'm getting like a hammer and, some jumper cables and my man
Gotta get all the man stuff and tampons.
It just felt weird, right? Because I was back, probably I'm dating myself a little bit, but there were more checkers than
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
self-checkouts.
More than self-checkouts.
So you get up there and you just like randomly putting the stuff up there, and then
Blue
the box comes out and
jeans,
you're like,
I'd
Bruce
be a lot-
Springsteen, Born in the USA album. Man.
some brawny towels.
and then you're just buying crap to cover for it, like box of ammo. Give me some Copenhagen while you're at
See,
it.
I'd be a lot more concerned. Like, I'd be a lot more apprehensive about buying like women's underwear
Yeah.
than
tampons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because then they might be looking at me like,
If I was a checker, I think you were cool.
All right.
Anyway, another thing that we've talked about already is price gouging.
Yes.
During periods of high demand, such as emergencies or natural disasters or schmovish-19,
Right.
dynamic pricing could lead to significant price increases, raising concerns about price gouging, which they have not gone down from that.
You know what
So-
is interesting about that though is like it doesn't take ESLs to price gouge. I mean,
Right.
No,
you
yeah.
see that
No.
in disaster areas all the time.
That's
It's like,
happens
that's
all the
just
time.
Gross, no matter what.
Yeah.
how you're doing
Unfortunately, it was great that you brought up disaster areas because the example I have was Katrina.
it. Right.
Yes, a lot of parts of New Orleans were absolutely flattened, but right over the hill was another part of this. It's a metropolis down there. There's a bunch of places. Was a certain area with a certain store that sold like shovels, rakes, trash bags. We needed those things. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Did we
man.
pay for them?
Well, and again,
Well-
think of what we just went through in 2020.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they have said forever, don't be the gold miner. Be the guy selling them the picks and
Yes.
shovels.
Yes. Yeah.
Have no heart. It's fine.
right.
So I'm done with my list, but obviously this is all well and good to talk about. It's good to be informed,
Mm-hmm.
but the reality of it is these companies have the money and power to make these things go away quickly and quietly, even if they do break these laws.
Mm.
Like I said earlier, I really struggled to find anything that was like, okay, what can you do as a consumer?
I don't
These
think
are
anything.
my personal suggestions. I am not a professional. I am not a lawyer. I am not an economist. Is that what they call them?
Yeah. Economist. Yeah.
I am nothing like that. I am just a person that's like, this is what I would do if I was going into one of these stores with these ESL systems.
Well, one little glimmer of hope, like fast food restaurants have had electronic signs for a long time.
Oh,
They've
yeah,
gone to the
yeah.
digital displays. They can change the prices on those whenever they want to. I mean, they change the breakfast and lunch menus remotely. So, and there was a fast food restaurant chain that tried increasing the prices at lunchtime, and there was some blowback from that.
Yes.
They stopped doing it. So it can be done.
So these are my suggestions. Is compare prices with the local mom and pop shops, because I have been surprised. I go to a local shop
Yes. We're lucky enough
In
we have a
Buffalo,
local
Wyoming.
grocery store.
and I will say the local shop and the price point for having to drive to Sheridan for stuff facility, honestly, it's not worth it.
Mhm.
Like I'm better off going to a couple stores in Buffalo
Mm-hmm.
than driving over here and going to one
Yeah.
And you're supporting a local family who
that are not
has-
doing that stuff to you.
They actually have a price tag on the item itself that
Yes.
has the price on it.
But you got to remember, you look at these local stores, and I worked for a publisher who used to say it best that, these large box companies are not sponsoring your kid's little league team.
Yep.
They're not sponsoring any shows for, your local entertainment, your local theater, anything local. They're not paying attention to it. Now, if you live in a great big city, you might be going to this amphitheater owned by this company or the X stadium or whatever.
Mhm.
They may do things like that, okay, but they don't give a damn about your daughter's swim team, your daughter's equestrian team, your son's baseball team. these local mom and pop shops do. And we're lucky enough to live and work in Sheridan, where our downtown is still vibrant.
Yes.
And it, we hear it all the time, especially in the business that we work in. Sheridan's downtown looks like a Hallmark.
Yeah.
It's
That's like
absolutely,
something out of a movie.
it's something out of a movie. But the reason being is because we're constantly on each other as a community. Don't buy that there. Don't go online.
Yeah. Shop local.
Shop local.
Local. Shop local. We say it all the time.
Because these are people who are going to care about the community you're in and not what their stock market price is.
And just in case you're not from here and you're watching this from afar, don't come here.
That's another Wyoming trait,
We've had
isn't
a
it?
glut of people recently.
The temperature hasn't been above 0 for a month.
It's true.
months.
It's true.
That
There's
is true.
giant snowstorms, giant snow drifts.
There's there's caveats to everything,
So-
like
Sorry, I just
go ahead,
we need
go
to
ahead.
get through this because I know some people have a very important hair appointment.
Yes. Yeah, look at this.
So,
I know.
so another solution, if you cannot shop local, if that's just not a possibility for you, you do have to go to one of these bigger box stores. A lot of them have apps you can check out on now.
Mhm.
And yes, you're downloading an app for these people, but at the same time, if it's going to save you a penny, that's what matters.
yes,
So you can scan and check out on your phone. And if you're scanning, you can check out as you go.
Yeah.
And yes,
Right.
that's more work. But if you are on a fixed budget, like we talked about,
It'll
Take-
add it up as you
take
go.
that extra step. You got to do it and keep the money out of their pockets. Really, I'm sorry. I think we all know how I feel about this kind of thing. But the last thing I have on my list is if you see this shady shit happening, say something.
yeah,
Do not go to the poor 16-year-old worker.
Mhm.
They don't have control over this.
Right.
Go to the corporation, go to the managers, and yes, the managers most likely don't have control over this either. Leave reviews, go on social media, tell people, hey, this is what happened to me at this place. Don't
Mhm.
go there.
yeah.
Like, it's just getting the word out that this shady stuff is happening. They can't silence you on social media yet.
Mm.
They can't
working
do
on
this
it.
stuff. So just be loud, say
Well,
something.
they did.
Don't pester
in
the
2020.
workers.
Yeah.
But I guess my wrap up would be capitalism, fine. Whatever. I get
Free
it.
market,
I
baby.
love
Yeah.
capitalism.
I don't, but that's okay.
Dynamic ESL pricing based on the supply and demand in one generalized area of a store.
One particular shelf in the
Bad.
store.
Like
Yeah.
that's just crap.
That's crossing a line.
yeah.
As we look through history, free market solutions have always been the best solutions. Because if you get an economy where there's only one producer of a good, those goods fall in quality because you have no choice and they're thrust upon you. A free market solution, a capitalist solution, is the best solution. Where we lost touch is when these corporations got so big, they didn't care about the baseball team anymore. They didn't care about the community. They cared about the shareholder. Now, again, someone can sit here and argue and say, well, that's capitalism. And yes, it is. But capitalism should not lack a conscience.
No.
And if it does, it spirals out of control and value, not just value of the goods, but value of the people, begins to wither like a cut vine. And one day you find yourself standing on the street wondering what the hell happened to your nation, wondering what the hell happened to each other. We cannot lose value in our capitalism if we can maintain it. I personally feel we may have already crossed the threshold that we cannot get back from. That capitalism has gone into a dark realm, and that soon our entire society will be a pay to play. And those who cannot pay will never, ever crawl out of the gutter again.
I would like to say one last thing. Sorry, we're all going like, I got one more thing to say. But I would just like to say, you as a person, as much as corporations and the country and what's going on in the country make you feel like you don't matter, you do. And what you have to say matters. So don't ever just be quiet because corporations, the government, everyone wants you to be. Don't be quiet. Say what you have to say. We have free speech. Say it.
It's your dollar. You can choose where to spend it. And if you decide not to take part in the system doesn't exist anymore. Always keep that in mind. Boycotts work, but we all have to do it together. Because if they can get just over that hill, just that 0.01% profit, that's still a profit. And they'll continue the practice. If they don't make a profit, they'll kill the practice. You've been listening to the Jackalopes Explore.